You're on.
I have 7 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. We're here tonight to provide information and field questions on the 2 ballot articles that were added. Article 1. Shall the voters of the town of Bakersfield approve the sale of the Brigham Academy for development with the following conditions? Condition 1, development will include usable community space. Number 2, future taxes on property will be deferred for a negotiated period of time. Number 3, the sale price, provided there is a community space, will be for the token amount of $1. If said community space is not provided, the sale price will be negotiated. Number 4, the proposed use of building must be approved by the select board prior to sale. Article 2, shall the town of Bakersfield approve the select board to spend no more than $50,000 on law enforcement for no less than 6 months of service. Those are the articles that are to be discussed today. We will give you as much information and answer the questions to the best of our ability. There are some restrictions that restrict what we can answer. Not because we're withholding information, just because some of the information isn't known at this time. At this point, we'll start with Article 1. I'll turn the floor over to Lance, who has the information on the Brigham Academy.
Well, to date, we've had 5 different parties who were interested in developing Brigham. All 5 parties were looking at doing apartments for elderly, not the older generation. I shy away from using the elderly term, sorry. At least 2 of them declined because I could not give them an answer. And the question was, would you sell us the building? Well, the select board does have the authority to sell and buy property that is owned by the town of Bakersfield without a vote. But we felt that we should bring it before the town and give the people of the town a say in whether we can sell this building or not. It is not in our interest, because of its location, to have, and I hesitate to use these terms because they're politically incorrect, but low income or Section 8 housing. We don't want that there. That is why the 4th clause is in there, that anything they propose to use the building for will have to be approved, and a contract will have to be signed before we will sell the building. There is still another interested party, and I may be able to draw 1 or 2 of the other parties back if I have an answer. Right now, that's all I have for you.
So at this time, we will open the floor to questions. Again, we'll have you come up to the front, state your name. John, let's see, they can just stand off to the side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're on camera.
Make sure the green light's on the mic, state your name, ask your question, and we will try.
Ginger.
Can you turn that right for
Ginger Parent, quick question. In what you read, you said the words community space. Could you give us a definition of what community space is?
At this point, we were looking at a place where community events could be held. I remember the old study hall. I was trying to keep that as a whole. It could be used by the residents during the day or whenever it's not being used by the community. But if you had an anniversary, a birthday party, or a reunion or something, it would be a place where you could, if you wanted to, gather together.
Any other questions on Brigham? Don't, yes. Yeah.
That's okay.
Please, just step forward. Just leave it on.
yeah. Randy Mayo, my question is, are we going to be concerned about, keeping the historical integrity of the building?
The building is on the historic register and the exterior would have to remain pretty much the same.
Now, are we gonna use, I mean, are any of these people that are pondering the purchase of this gonna use it for any other commercial uses other than like housing, community service, something of that nature?
There are a couple of things that have been tossed around. I mean, the post office is going to be looking for a new place, possibly a remote office for a nurse. Those have been discussed, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Please just step forward. You don't have to wait for approval.
All right. I'm gonna sit because I brought a notebook. Hello, my name is Audrey and I have so many questions and you answered some. And the first that I'm so happy to hear is that you are not interested in doing low income or Section 8, having 3 children who go to Bakersfield Elementary School. At the last meeting that I watched virtually, when that came up as a 26 unit, my understanding, a 26 unit blueprint of low income housing, I was like terrified. My understanding was in that last meeting that because you couldn't put in an elevator, that it would not be deemed 55 and up because it wouldn't meet the requirements.
No, we were, there was one plan brought forward where there were enough accessible units on the ground floor that they did not need to put in an elevator.
Okay, well, that's all very good news to me. So no complaints. The community space definition is still something that I feel like needs a lot more clarification. Again, our kids use Brigham Academy lawn for athletics. Is that included in the sale? Is that included in this tax exempt $1 sale to whomever purchases it? Is the land considered community? Would that be community space? Because the kids use that for leaps and after school programs. They use it for their gardening, walking to sledding, I mean, getting to and from the library. What does that mean if the town no longer owns that land? Is that land no longer functional?
It was Brigham. It was from Brigham to 108.
Right, that's exactly the land that I'm talking about is the lawn, Brigham Lawn, which is used daily by the school kids. So if anyone who bought that building said, yeah, I'll give you community space, I'll continue to let your kids frolic in the yards. What is that inside space? Is that outside space? Has that ever been defined? Has anyone ever discussed that?
We haven't done that part, frankly.
Yeah, I just want to throw it out there because it seems like something that should be talked about considering the current and use of it. And that the school might have an interest as an adjacent landowner to what the inevitable outcome of that building becomes.
If I may,
Yes.
you mentioned that it was $1 tax exempt.
Well, $1 sale, given that there's community space and it would be not taxed until you guys decided that it was deemed appropriate to tax whoever buys it. That was,
Construction period.
okay, well, I mean, I paid taxes as soon as I bought my land. It seems pretty crazy to me that.
Look at it this way, we're trying to encourage people to develop this or to do something with this. And if that's what it takes to entice them, we can, we're not collecting taxes on it now.
Yeah, well, I wanted to develop my land. I got a lot of pushback on that on 45 acres and I had to pay taxes on it whether or not I developed. So I don't feel like this is any different than that situation personally. Said it, I don't need any more explanation because I don't think you guys actually have the answer to that. What happens to this building if the developer decides to sell? So we understand that now we're looking at selling this to an investor, someone who's going to develop this building. When this building developer decides they don't want to, they're gonna make their money, they're gonna do what they want, and they're gonna sell it to someone who's gonna try to make a profit or try to make a profit on that building. The town, will they have any say in what happens with the subsequent sales of that building, considering its location to our school and our town and community space after the sale?
That's all stuff that can be negotiated.
That's- Yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet in any of our negotiations. So, yeah, that is a legitimate question, and I understand where it's coming from. But I really don't have an answer because we haven't gotten that far yet.
Well, the town, so my concern is, say everyone says yes to this and it goes through, then does the town have any say therefore going forward, or it's no longer in our hands because it's going to be sold for $1 for unknown community space? I don't understand, at what point does the town stop having a say? And then when do we get these answers if we no longer have a say and the building is sold?
Whoever purchases the building from the town of Bakersfield will have to sign a contract as to what this building's use will be for, and that will be in the deed forever.
Forever, ongoing, great. I'm sorry, I'm like getting to it. Sorry, people. All right, so. So my next question, I guess, was about the hours of service for the police. So,
That's next section.
That's him.
oh, that's you. Okay, so should I leave the Brigham Academy stuff for now? Okay,
Let's deal with one at a time.
okay, deal. All right,
Thank you.
I'm out. Thank you.
Sir. Oh,
No,
Trouble.
I'm quick. I just wanted to Sharon Lawyer, sorry.
Sharon.
I just wanted to clarify, when we think about the use of Brigham, the idea of using it for senior housing, I think I can live with that term, is that a feasibility study was done, money was spent on potential use of it, and we have a lot of seniors who are living in big houses as one or two people. So I think when we think about Brigham, I go back to, why are we considering this? There was a purpose behind that, right? And it was looking at, none of us are getting any younger. 10 years from now, maybe that is a more viable space for some of us who maybe right now it doesn't seem. But this community is aging, and
The state is aging.
the sta-
The state of Vermont has the second oldest average age population in the nation. We're not getting better at that. As a matter of fact, we're losing the younger generation, and the older generation is choosing to stay here for the most part. Yeah, it's the military. And the expected need for elderly housing is going to increase. And affordable housing for the elderly is greatly needed. These people who are living in large houses by themselves, or maybe they still are a couple, bless them if they are, often can't afford it. And what we're hoping to provide with Brigham is a 20 to 23 unit building that will offer a place for them to be that they can afford. Please, Terry. Save you.
What's that? Save you? I probably won't, but Terry Gates. So first of all, I think it's a shame that we would want to think about selling that beautiful piece of property for $1. Second, you guys don't have enough answers to the questions to be putting this before the voters.
I like.
I'm sorry, but that is so close to our school. Right now, the state is pushing
Section 8 housing along with elder, don't tell me no. I see it every day, Lance, in my job.
Yeah, I know they are, but I don't.
So what,
I was just-
I know you don't want it, neither do I. For certain, I do not want Section 8 housing over there by our school. But tell me what you're going to do to prevent that from happening, because the state wants more.
Number
And
four.
one, my second piece of that is, you guys are sitting here today, you might not be sitting here in 5 years. So who's gonna prevent this from staying the way the people want it? But I think you've got the cart way before the horse, or however it may go, but
We lost an opportunity to have this project go forward because I could not give them an answer.
I don't think that's the reason why, but I just,
You mentioned setting up usable building for law, and I agree, it's a gorgeous building. The problem is, if we don't sell it, if we don't sell that building, it's not gonna be a usable building for law. So-
I'm not so concerned about the building as I am the piece of land, to tell you the God's honest truth. I've been dealing with this building for umpteen years, because I was on the school board when we asked to renovate that thing would have been renovated and still standing today, and the most beautiful school system we could ever ask for. Instead, we put millions of dollars into a new building
Yeah.
that hasn't been nearly as beautiful as what we had.
I agree with that.
So to tell you the God's honest truth, the building to me is the least of our worries, but I do not want to see that green sold to anyone but the town of Bakersfield.
That building was built in the late 1800s.
Yeah, I know. I've been here a long time.
Because of its proximity.
I look young, but I've been here a long time.
Because of, like, you can probably hear when it was built.
Probably.
Because of its proximity to the Lowell mines. If we have to destroy that building will have to be tented. It will cost us.
I'm well aware what it will cost us to get rid of the building, but I think we still need to think long and hard. If we have all these uses for it, then why haven't we done a study ourselves to see what it would cost for the town itself to take it on?
We have.
So where's your figures for that? When we did the study for us to renovate it?
When you did the usage study, that was what, 3 years ago?
Not for us to renovate it, that was for,
And they're
yeah,
in what?
5.5 million, 4.5.
but as a town, we might be able to get more grants for it. When I was on the board, the biggest thing was it wasn't being used community as much as it was school, and the grants were not as grand for school use, yes, than it was if there was more
She's correct.
town use for it.
No, she is correct. The school had a lot of limitations as to what the building could be used.
Mm-hmm. And there was very little monies.
Yeah.
But if we made most of it more town oriented than school, there was
Once
more
that's
grant money.
Done, we have to worry about the return on it, and is the return viable for maintaining the building and paying off the debt?
Guess that's something we'd have to look into. I think November is way too soon to be even thinking about voting on this.
Then your answer will be in the ballot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why this is being put forward, okay? This is why this is being put forward. Now, I will say this again. The select board has the right to buy and sell property without town approval, without a town vote. We are putting it forth as a town vote, as a courtesy to the members of our community.
Because none of us felt right.
Well, yeah, because I mean, well, because you're trying to sell a piece of property that's definitely worth more than $1. That green itself is worth more than $1.
That's why clause 4 is in. They can propose to buy it for $1, but they gotta sell us on it. and they gotta sign a contract
And not,
that we approve of,
not us. Us.
the select
Yeah.
board,
I don't,
the town.
that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, or I don't know, that's angering the town. Oh, the select board is doing this. The select board is trying to figure out a way that make a giant infrastructure in the middle of our town usable. Now, if the best way for that to happen is for the town to keep it and us to vote to put $5 million into that, to make it something that the town wants to pay off over time, great. Vote no on this, we'll come back and we'll say, we're gonna do another usage study, which will be, I think, number 5. We will bring it to the voters for the, I think, 10th time since the school gave it to the town, and say, does the town wanna put this money towards it to turn it into something? And we can do that, that's perfectly fine, just like the first time we brought them.
Well, let's also see how much it's gonna cost to tear it down as an option,
Yeah,
because I agree that the land.
Yes. I'll get out of the house.
Let me say this, I would love nothing better than to see this building. To keep the gymnasium, to have a community kitchen, to have a library, to have the post office, to have the municipal offices there, I'd love that. We can't afford it. If you want to pay for it, if the town wants to pay for it, we can do that. It's a lot of money. Please.
Carrie Flieger, and I just want to thank you for having the meeting and explaining things. I have a concern about it potentially being sold for $1 and then no tax revenue coming in, especially if it's, can I finish? Could I finish? With no tax revenue coming in, especially if this is elderly housing, it's going to put a strain on our fire and rescue. So, what's a plan to support them? And then other strains on the community, whether it is road, just if we're going to suddenly have more people there, how are we going to pay for those additional costs without the additional revenue coming in?
The tax deferral would only be during the construction period. Once construction is done, they'll owe us.
So, and I can add to that, I mean, it's a fairly standard incentive, I guess, to do that tax deferral in development around the country, but the other thing I wanted to touch on, my brain just went. Come back to keep going.
The tax deferral period would be just temporary during construction. Most estimates were the year to year and a half.
So a year to a year and a half of tax deferral, we're still going to have the strain on.
Because nobody's gonna be living in it while it's being constructed.
You have the workers.
Absolutely.
So I'm still thinking of our emergency services. I'm thinking of how that's going to impact transportation in and out of the school while construction is happening. And that's a year and a half of no, and I understand it's been years of no revenue coming in on that building. So I'm still worried about that. And is it typical procedure that it's $1 sale and a tax deferment? I mean, it sounds like it's really sweet for whoever gets it, and it's a huge risk for the town, and it could potentially be a really big loss for the town.
Your answer is invalid. If you don't want us to do this, please tell us.
It's an option.
But we have to start somewhere.
You reminded me of what my point was going to be, that $1 is actually an insurance policy for the towns, that we get what we want, which is the use is appropriate for where it's the location. And there will always be that way, that comment or that point that audit, what happens if it gets sold? With that insurance policy, and that's my term, it's gonna be in religion, it's not gonna change, so that's why. But we don't have to do it that way, it's just an idea, because we've been batting this thing around for, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years.
Between the school board and the
My,
select board, this has been going on for 40 years.
my biggest concern as a taxpayer in this town and somebody who I've only been here 20 years, so I'm a relatively, but it's a great building.
Yeah.
But it's deteriorating, and at the moment, it's an attractive nuisance, you know, that, you know, it's an attractive place for kids to get into, we know that happens. Not gonna be long before that becomes a dangerous building, and if we don't do anything, my fear is something horrible is gonna happen. So something has to be done. It doesn't necessarily have to be this, but this is like the beginning of the conversation. So if not this, then what?
I'm so
the
confused.
Ballot measure is an option. This is one we can do. We don't like this. Let's go on to the next one.
I guess I'm confused by that statement as well, because it seems like it's a cycle. And I think if we look at the pattern, I'm hearing repeatedly that people feel like there's not enough information that has been given forward. And so I think if the board wants townspeople to take it seriously and get the support of the people, then we need to have more answers. And I hear what you're saying about things haven't gotten that far. And if they are that serious, then they need to give more information, because it's a huge risk for the community to support this without more details.
If I may. So there is at every select board meeting twice a month, there's a section regarding Brigham Academy that, not every, but almost, Lance has some kind of update that we give. Now, I don't know if you're watching the recordings. You'll catch some in there. We had a very large meeting back a little while ago regarding it, and that was one of the things that we thought was going to sell. I've said myself about the building. My concern with the building is it's starting to come apart. The kids are playing in it. The kids are pulling bricks out of it. We actually 2 years ago had to go buy wood and reboard it up for the third time, I think, because the kids are pulling the wood off that we're putting up on the lower floors and getting in there. Terry was on the board at that time.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of concerns. The concern, you're absolutely right about construction workers. We have concerns about the children, and they're getting in there right now. I'm not saying the answer is to sell the building for $1. If you watch the recordings, I brought up the taxes in the recordings, and I tried to get that piece worked out, because I thought, much like you, hey, they're buying it for $1, they should pay the taxes on the land. And Lance explained it, and I said, hey, I'm okay. You want to say construction a year and a half, but there's got to be an end to it, right?
Yeah.
Because construction, all of a sudden there's delays and it's 2-3 years. No. You've got a small window to fit this tax exempt status, or continue the tax exempt status it has now. Yeah, but the problem is,
Seen it happen in all other.
yeah,
Anybody who's been interested in the project wants to know what their upfront investment costs are. Jim Cameron, he's done a lot of local projects. Unfortunately, he cannot do this project. That was a blow that I felt, because I was sure that he was going to do it. Anyhow, even he wanted to know what his upfront cost to have the building. Or would the town commit to running it? Would the town, sell it to him, where he didn't have to go through the grant process, which I can tell you from experience. I've already been through FEMA, and I've been through a grant process with Brigham, the planning process. It's a pain in the royal butt. It is a lot of time and a lot of commitment. And to get a implementation grant is worse. And that's, if the town owns it, we could go for an implementation grant. It wouldn't cover the cost. Jim figured with the tax credits that he could get, and the grants that he could get, that he would still be, more than $500,000 shy of being able to do the project. And he decided his pockets weren't that deep right now. The incentive of buying the building for $1 and not having to go through the grant process saves a lot of step, a lot of hassle. It's one of those things where 6 one way and half dozen the other. If the town wants to run it, own it, set up a board to run it, oversee it.
So Lance, I missed the beginning of the meeting. Do you have 2 other buyers besides Cameron?
No,
So this is all if someone were to want to buy this for $1. So we have
yes,
no plans for anyone to buy it. We're just.
that is, at this point, that is correct. I had 5 different organizations interested at one time.
Yeah, what
And they've
happened?
all dropped out for one reason or other, and mostly it was because I couldn't give them an answer on this right here.
Yeah, it came down to,
I have to repeat myself then. It does not belong on that ballot.
Come up.
Sorry, it's Paul's turn. It's Paul's turn.
Well, my biggest question, Paul Pickner,
thank you.
my biggest question right now. I hear the risk reward is very lopsided as far as I'm concerned. And I hear there's no buyers. I would like to see this thing removed from the ballot. Is there any chance of that?
No, not at this point.
People have already voted on it, dropped off their.
Say again?
People have already voted on it, early voting.
Okay, all right.
This was put on the ballot when it was decided as a select board that we should bring this to the town. There were 5 interested parties.
Right.
There were ideas. That's when we made the decision. It had to be on by a certain date because God knows where, but they're printed ahead of time, not anywhere near here. So we had to make a decision by X date. At that point, we had people that were interested and we could have moved ahead with negotiations on many different aspects. Since then, because we had put it on the ballot, which at this point, I'm not seeing as a bad thing, people have dropped off. So this, if it's voted no, which if there's this many people against it, great, vote no. That's your right. That's what we
Absolutely.
expect from the town. Otherwise, we wouldn't have asked for your input. We wouldn't have, but we wouldn't have done it.
That's appreciated. How did it come to be that the guys that work for the town are the only people, or no, I said that wrong. Are the people that have the ability to do a sale without the concerns of the population that they represent? I don't quite get that, but I can understand it from your point of view, but
Assuming here, it's in the League of Cities and Towns. There's a list of all the town representatives, select board, treasurer, everybody. And it gives their roles, responsibilities and abilities.
so the town doesn't micromanage you guys, yeah, yeah. Well,
And again, we have never, since I've been on board, we have never bought or sold anything without checking with.
Town consent.
Absolutely.
That's why it's on the ballot now,
Yeah.
because we were.
That's appreciated. I'm sure it's appreciated.
Discussing it, and we came down to the decision towards the end of the discussion that the town should, make the decision. You elect us, right? We're your elected officials,
Right.
but, the voice of the people, the voice of the town is important as well. Hence why it's on the ballot.
It's our responsibility to represent you.
Right. Well,
Your opinion and this ballot is important to us.
yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't put it on there.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't matter now because you said it's too late. It's on the ballot and, yeah. I think it's too late. Right,
The official way.
We could do a poll.
understand that.
Separate town poll.
I was wondering why there wasn't a meeting ahead of putting it.
There have been meetings.
Mm,
There have been meetings,
But-
and they have been duly
okay,
To Josh's point,
and advertised.
we ran out, when this came before us, we only had days to get it on the ballot, to get the decision done from the town, because we have a meeting, and honestly, sometimes we have two people here.
Yeah.
well, I was here at town meeting day, this was brought up, and you, Lance said, I'm not divulging the name of the person, blah, 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 that. And for me, sitting there in that meeting, I did not like it. It is what it is. I didn't, personally, I didn't like it, but, and now I didn't, for something that's monumentous, risk reward, I'm having a really rough time that it went from town meeting day. No, I understand that, but in terms of people's inputs were starting to grow, and then all of a sudden, it's like, it's.
At that time, we even had tentative drawings, architectural drawings, for what could possibly be used. I'm sorry, but he's withdrawn now. He is taking his offer back, so you can't afford to do it at this time. And
What I'd like to say, the last thing, what I'd like to say is, has anybody considered repurposing the construction materials? Because they got to be valuable, okay? It happens all the time in many places. There's a value for the construction materials. There's beams in there, there's bricks in there, all that stuff.
Copper.
If the town could generate an income from that and then put up a smaller structure that truly represents a poor community, I think we'd be way better served.
that is an option. It has been discussed. However, right now, it seems the majority of the people that I've talked to anyhow want to keep the building. At some point, if we don't do something with it, it's going to come to that.
I agree with what you guys are saying. They can't last forever. So, but the one thing, even if it goes beyond that point, then you just start dismantling it. And then you have, 200 dump trucks of bricks that are repurposable. You have beams. I worked for a guy at one time when I was younger, and they took down barns all over the eastern seaboard, and they got a pretty dollar back then. I wonder what they would be worth now.
For those beams, a lot.
Yeah, of course.
So, being a lifetime resident of Bakersfield, who went to that school, in 1968, they said it was going to collapse. They brought an engineer in from Canada. They put a cable in the attic. That cable today is the same distance from the floor it was in 1968.
Yeah, so it's holding
We've
up.
been fighting in
Yeah.
this town
Yeah,
for 25 to 30 years, when we could have redone that building for probably 200,000 years ago. And here we are again fighting. We need to do something with it. Peter Bent Brigham left that building to this town for educational purposes. And it's a historic site. If you read about Peter Bent Brigham, we were damn lucky to get
Sure.
that. He could have gave that to anybody else throughout the United States, but he brought it back. to his home
unfortunately,
state.
our time has passed
But I think
for
it's-
a lot of the normal ways of taking that building in place. So we have to be
It
creative.
could be repurposed.
Yes.
It's not as bad as people think it is. It really isn't.
And I think one of the things that we need to realize, we completely understand the concerns of the people here. Okay, we get that. If we had put on here that we were putting out a bond for 5.5 million for the reconstruction of Brigham Academy, we would have the same number of people.
Probably wouldn't have got a single vote.
We would have the same number of people here with a different argument.
Yeah, taxes is killing us. It is. So, yeah, bond or it's gonna be a pressure.
That we were going to tear down the Brigham, there would have been another group of people in here that are angry. So, I mean, we can put all three items on an article in March.
Right.
And say, what do you wanna do with it?
Yeah, that seems more reasonable.
Well, and I think that.
Well, we have to get past this point.
And this just gives us, let me read it to you again.
You shall say voters. If you say no, that's perfectly okay.
But what?
We're not upset. We just need the community's opinion. We need what you want to do.
So,
We needed the people.
so
to come
Terry-
here and talk to us. This is, and sadly, the only time we get people to show up is when we put something on the ballot. This is people.
We don't want to sell for a dollar.
Or this crew, it doesn't matter.
And just say
This is
no.
the only time we can get people to come here. And let me read this to you again. Shall the voters of the town of Bakersfield approve the sale of Brigham Academy for development with the following conditions? This doesn't say, if this is voted yes, the select board is gonna sell it.
Okay, that's good
You are
enough.
giving
Actually,
us,
it's like-
That's real good then.
okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like a warm blanket.
We're not gonna sell it. We're
You're
not,
asking, can we sell this building for $1?
it is, it's asking if we can, but we don't have a buyer.
Right.
So, I mean.
But if.
we're not gonna approve of any plan that the town doesn't.
When this was written, I will say it again, when this was written,
Jim Cameron.
we had 5 interested parties. At this time, there are not.
They all step back.
So if this gets voted yes, we have heard your concerns, okay? Even if somebody was coming to us and say, it was voted yes, I'll take it. Our town has said that is not the option they wanna go with. At this time, we're not interested. Now, that is gonna put a boatload of work back on our town to figure out what the usage is again. What the feasibility of that building is again, and I mean. I wasn't around for it, no, Audrey, we were young, but like.
My name is on the chalkboard at the Brigham Academy, so.
It's the people that have been in this town, Lance, Terry, I know I'm missing people, but they have seen this go around, I don't know how many times. Oh, yeah. I mean, this has gone around multiple times. The problem we're facing right now is if something isn't done with this building, I know the walls aren't going out, but walk around the front of the building where the stairs are. And not only are the bricks falling off, but if you reach in there and grab hold of that, the timbers, you can pull them out by hand.
Yeah,
They're
the
beyond that.
timbers on the front side are starting to rot.
So.
Rather not starting, some of them were.
Yeah, it may not be going this way, but she's not as tall and proud as she used to be. And
So if this gets passed in the ballot votes, then the majority of the town wants to sell it for $1 in developments,
That's an option.
right?
That,
I mean,
we are still going to seriously consider what they want to do with it. We are going to review that, we're gonna have to sign a contract. We're not just gonna blanketly give it to anybody who comes in and say, hey, I got that.
Right, and that's exactly what it says on the ballot.
No,
It says you're not gonna give it to anybody.
the proposed use of the building, number 4, must be approved by the select board
on the
prior
ballot.
to sale.
It says it right on the ballot.
It says it right on the ballot, that will be part of the deed, and it will be contract. It will stay with the building, no matter who owns it.
and I would like to say that.
But that could change depending on who's sitting there.
There needs to be parameters in there, so that if you guys aren't the people, the parameters for the sale are in there.
Right, for the common, yeah.
That, if this passes, that will probably won't be one of our first responsibilities, is to come up with parameters.
I mean, we learned that with the sale of our gravel pit over there.
Sharon,
We ended up with a gray area that has cost us many dollars.
That gravel pit has saved us tens of thousands of dollars.
But the rent goes to someone else.
Sharon, you've been really patient.
yeah,
That's not a
Yeah,
gravel
another
pit, that's
subject.
something else. That's an entirely different subject.
Anyone else that was on that?
Sharon,
So I'm not saying selling it for $1 is a good thing or not a good thing. But what I would like to say is 3 miles down the road in the center of town, about 10 years ago, I should know the date, but I don't. A building was sold for $1.
Mhm.
It worked. It was a risk. Was it a big risk? Maybe not as much. But I think what it enabled that group of people to do was to seek grants. And it, for any of you who have been to the meeting house, yes, it's no longer a church. It's no longer the church I go to, but it was repurposed in a way that really, to me, makes East Fairfield proud. They are proud to have that site as a usable space. I didn't grow up here. I don't have connections to Brigham in a way that I'm sentimental, but I can appreciate, and I definitely have the other side of the family prior to Lance, I think that is pretty connected or were connected. I also hear the piece about the grounds and things and about let the building go, keep the grounds. You know, I'm hearing all of this. And I think we have to trust each other. We elect officials. This is as small a government as there can be, you know, at the local level. I want the best thing. I don't know what the best thing is, but maybe we just all have to keep the energy positive in something like this, because I think we're never all going to agree on, and where do we go from here? I worry that a kid gets injured or killed in Brigham and the impact of that, because we'll live with that for the rest of our lives because we've been fighting about Brigham. I don't have any answers. I just think we need to be thoughtful. So.
You want to try to come, or do you still have your question or was it answered? I know you tried to get up like 5 seconds into the discussion.
It's just a comment that actually has already been covered, and a quick question. My name is Ray Salome. Comment, just, I've been here about 30 years. In all that time, that's after Brigham was used, so there'd been no heat and renovation in the summer. I don't see that building standing on its own more than 5 more years. Okay, I'm not an engineer, but if you don't do something with it, knock it down. Even though I know it's very close to the hearts of a lot of people that have been here a long time. My question's pretty simple. I was reviewing the minutes from Monday night, and I read something in there that it wasn't real clear, but it seemed to be saying that the select board wasn't sure if they had the authority on this or the school board had the authority on this.
The other building. That's the current schoolhouse in use.
Oh, okay. That was the question I had, is it, I couldn't follow how we were having this meeting. If we didn't even know if you could do anything.
Certainly got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The elementary school.
Josh, you must be coming up there, has a question?
No longer have our elementary school today
Yes.
is actually owned by the supervisory union now.
See, that never came to, so.
That's what Act 46 is all
So
about.
different subject, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification, but yeah, let's try to think about it.
I'll catch you later, Derek.
I don't know how you guys do business, but I do it with a business plan. And what I'm seeing right here, you're throwing skeet up in the air with a blindfold on, trying to hit it. I'm gonna suggest something.
Please do.
Get a business plan. Instead of, it could be used for this, it could be used for that. Find out what you can use it for. And once you can find it out, you categorize it. It could be a restaurant, it can be a surf shop, it could be whatever. Make a business plan. Rewrite your contract. Send it out to the people. Let them look it over and tweak it. That's probably one of the biggest problems we're all having here is we're just getting maybe, don't have answers. You don't have answers because you don't have a plan. You need a plan. Start with a contract. If you wrote a contract and you sent a copy of it to every resident in Bakersfield, I will guarantee you, you'll get 100% more positive feedback because they're gonna know where you stand and you will start getting answers. You don't have answers yourself because you're not doing that. You don't write the contract when the deal happens. Rewrite what you want in that contract. That's gonna make people understand it'll be used for this, it won't be used for that. You're shooting in the dark right now, you're not gonna hit anything. You don't have a business plan, you don't have a mission plan. You guys need to sit back. And you should have never been on the ballot.
How about you come to the next select board meeting and discuss that with us?
If I could, as someone who's run several companies, if I'm putting together a business plan, I'm putting it together for us to own it. I'm not going to put together a business plan for some other company to own it.
It doesn't matter.
A mission statement, a mission plan, I'm on board with you there. A business plan, I can't dictate what you purchased the building for. You're going to come and tell me.
I'm not saying this so it can be sold to somebody. But if you had if you had just a fax contract that you wrote up, that would show bullet points of where our heads are going, what we want to do with this thing. People could read the language and decipher what's in that document. We have no documentation, no control document, anything for this. If you had, just make up a fake contract. It doesn't have to be binding to be sold. It could be used for the town to keep it, or it could be used for the town to sell it. But send something out like that. Brainstorm, ask people like, you don't want to use for this, you don't want to use for that. Make up a fake contract that everybody can read. That will be a basis to start of like, what direction are we thinking we're going with this thing? Like I said, you're throwing stuff up in the air.
If I could, I'm not disputing. I've been here 11 odd years, not as many as some of you.
I've been here over 50, so.
So there you go. So here's the deal. My understanding is, and since I've been on the board for 3 years, my understanding is this has gone to the town several times to save the building, which to me would say, put together your business plan. This is what we're doing in order to our intentions of what functions the building will hold for us because we're paying for it.
You're not gonna save that building until you have a business plan. I don't care what you think, whether we keep it or you sell it. Until you actually have a business plan, a mission statement, and you have a contract that you, just a rough draft of something that you can present to the town to keep it or someone else to buy it. You're not gonna get any answers from anybody in here because nobody knows what it can be used for. Nobody knows who the investors are. So you gotta start somewhere.
The building can be used for anything.
Yes.
This isn't about feasibility studies.
Feasibility study is based on elderly housing.
This isn't about feasibility studies. This is about people don't know what they're voting on. If you set a mission statement, this is what we're trying to determine. This is our goal. You're gonna start getting more positive results. You're trying to back a car into the garage with the door down. It's not gonna work. Said my piece.
And we have to pass this. I past the point where it's on the ballot. And then we get a restart, because I think you have people here that are willing to put time in it. Yeah, we need to restart.
There has been a Brigham Academy group
Committee.
committee. They wrote a feasibility study for it to be used for multiple rates. They brought the information forward. Nothing happened. I mean, we
had
We're
it passed
going-
to be renovated.
we're going in circles here.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. There needs to be a plan, but as we said before, the only time we can get people to come to a meeting to even discuss what the town should do with something is when we put something out there and it pisses people off. Then people show up. So this one's no good. We like that. That's good. I appreciate that. Please vote no if that's how you feel.
Absolutely.
Then we can go to the next step. Does the town wanna remodel? Does the town wanna bulldoze the damn thing in? At this point, we don't know what the best option is. If we decide to do demolition, there are multiple studies that are gonna have to be done, which we have looked into. Asbestos is a real concern.
Where's the asbestos?
Is a concern. due to its building,
Due to the era it was built, and it had a boiler system, the pipes are probably wrapped in asbestos.
If it has asbestos and.
Well, if it's in pipes, you'd seal off the building pretty easily and then you
I think
get.
they did like
that pipe.
sealing times 60s.
But that's a huge cost.
Right, so I mean, there's that, but then there's the proximity to the school. So I know there's been buildings in Johnson, for instance, that had asbestos in them, and they had 10 compare buildings. Those buildings cost more than they were worth to tear down. You know, so if we look at, well, it's gonna cost us 5 million to build it into something that's usable, or it's gonna cost us 5 million to
I guess.
tear it down and turn it into something different.
And then we look at salvage companies and who's gonna be interested in paying for it, paying for the materials.
That was done before.
Yes.
And we did vote in this town and they didn't want it because it cost too much.
Well, going back to what this gentleman said.
Yeah.
Going back to what this gentleman said earlier. It seems like every time there was a statement out, it was a focused statement. We would like to put, old age housing, we would like to have a community center out of the building or whatever. As opposed to what he was saying, let's get a whole list of things what we could do, and then people could get involved in a discussion, which I don't think that's happened.
That happened. It did, Paul, Penny Goss, fronted a group that wanted a community kitchen issue.
No, he said
Community
before his
kitchen,
time.
Community space, you know, for get-togethers, just a gathering area. I wanted to keep the gymnasium, turn it into a exercise gym, possibility of offices upstairs, etc. That didn't fly either.
Moving of the town offices over to there, moving of the library over to there.
Well, I think the question is,
That's when it was owned by the town, then the town sold it back to the school. And then the school got it voted to renovate it, and then they came in and.
I think we need a list of
Right.
options and dollar amounts.
So-
Like, we can cost compare what our options are as a town, as taxpayers.
It's gonna cost.
So-
money to do that too.
I think
My
But
question,
You guys have already done it.
How many
but
studies?
no-
Several
have you
times.
Been involved in, or I should say, the town been involved in since my kids went to Brigham? How many?
How many studies in the last 40 years?
Yeah, so
At least five. At least 5 to 6. Yeah.
I mean-
any chance that any of that information is valid at this point?
yes, the school should have,
for
A lot of it.
usage, for usage, I don't think, the only thing that holds back usage is what it's
I don't know
zoned
what-
as, the area, right? I mean, honestly, I mean, right.
Pat Curtis.
What I'm saying, is you can open a pizza
That's
parlor in there
good.
if you want a whole building for a pizza parlor. You can make a donut shop. There, the thing is limitless, right? I mean, you can,
Put a brewery in there.
right. You can make a maple production house there. It doesn't matter. So long as it fits within the parameters of the zoning that area is set for, right? So business case is the sky's the limit. I mean, seriously, we could put rocket parts and make Teslas in there. It doesn't matter. What matters is what we want to do and what we're willing to do and or spend. My understanding, and I don't think 11 years ago it was on the ballot. I could be wrong. I don't remember voting no, let's put it that way, that the case came up and they said, let's fix the building. And the town said, no, it's too much, right? All of us. I mean, I may not have been here, but all of us, the townsfolk said no. So
That's wrong. The town
Said yes.
folks voted yes
the town said
to
yes
renovate it.
to spend the five.
And then it got
You got petitioned.
petitioned, and then the vote got overturned the other way.
Okay, well, I didn't know about that either. I wasn't here. I just know that I was.
So
it
one-
didn't happen.
When we owned it, the school, yes,
Terry
yes.
is absolutely correct.
The long and short of it is, this is just one of two options. We either sell it, the dollar, I'll leave the dollar bit alone. We either sell the building, we fix the building, or we tear the building down. They're the options in front of us. We have three options. As a town, we need to decide which of the three we're gonna do. At this point on the ballot, we've got option one on there. Option one gets no, we can put option two on March's ballot, 2 and 3. And the town can decide. But if the town says no, no, no on all three, what are we gonna do, folks? We have to make a decision across this board. We can't keep kicking that can down the road. Because to several people's points, as well as my own, we have children in the town who find at a playground. They're going to get hurt. They may get cuts,
I think we
bruises,
should tear it down. That's an easy decision.
1, 2, 3. And frankly, selling the parts, if we decide to take it down, is a great way to bring some funds into the town.
Yeah.
You know, it is. What's salvageable out of it?
And then
I don't
you
have-
the lane.
Right. Then you have the open land. And you can do whatever you want on that land, or just leave it as the land,
Mhm.
right? Make it a big field for the kids to run on. Safe area.
So
But
that's my
what we have in
question.
front of us.
Do we have to sell the whole green with that building?
No,
There is one piece right where the septic system is on part of that green, but
the school,
does it, you know,
the elementary school septic system.
Share the septic with the.
Not that green. It's over towards, the elementary is over by, yeah,
Pine Fire Department, but it ends up just a little bit on Brigham.
some of the leach. Yeah.
so I mean, do we have to sell the property with the dirt kind of thing, the land with the building? I mean, I don't think it was ever conceived for parking in front,
The
so.
only response I have to that is it appealed to all 5 parties in the region.
Well, yeah, it would me too. I'll buy it for $1 to keep that beautiful piece of land.
See, discuss. They were interested in how much property went with it. You have.
So to your point though, Terry, you said in the back before you came up, you said, what happens if the town votes yes?
Yeah,
That was your point, and I know most didn't hear it because you didn't come forward. I heard you. I have those crazy little ears on me.
you know how I am.
And that's a great question. At this moment, we have no one to buy it, but at least gives us an option that if someone comes along and wants to purchase it, we don't stop, hesitate, and try to figure out.
We're not just getting.
Look away.
And it gives you permission to sell it for $1.
It gives us the option to sell it for $1.
$1.
if it includes community space.
So the only, say this passes, the only way I'm getting rid of that is I've got to petition that vote,
Yes,
Yeah.
correct?
same way.
Okay,
Suggest a bit there, because I'm not sure I would. Technically, yes, but. We would have to, as a select board, agree to that contract. And
Yes.
I'm not putting my name on anything that this town doesn't agree to.
Neither. am
no,
I.
but I'm saying if that vote comes in as a yes,
Present select.
the
board
only way
agreement.
to get rid of that vote is
Just to petition.
we would have to petition it.
Is correct.
Yes.
And that
The
would
same
make
way
it-
it got turned up the last-
Yes, with the present select board, there's gonna be some restrictions as to what they can do, and Terry is right. What happens if the select board has a huge turnover, we got a bunch of different people who have completely
No, I agree.
different opinions.
Well, and I don't agree that you can sell property in the best interest of the town, because you're right, we vote for you, we trust that you're gonna do what's right for the town. If you're taking, say it's worth $60,000 and you all decide to sell it for $1, that's not in the best interest of the town. So therefore, No. no, it is not in the best interest of the town.
And increased revenue because.
Where are you gonna increase your revenue?
We're gonna collect
You're
taxes.
gonna
on
put the
buildings.
burden on these poor folks over at the,
No, you're gonna collect taxes on a building that hasn't produced taxes.
but it also hasn't cost us any money.
That building has never generated taxes for the.
What's it
town.
cost us though? What has it cost us, that building? The building hasn't cost us any money either. But once you put people in there,
We insure it, so there's a price for insured. And you were on the board.
yes, and you have to have insurance on it.
It's not like thousands of dollars, don't get me wrong, but we've
Correct.
insured it. We have to keep insurance on the building. We spent upkeep on it. We boarded that building up several times. right?
It's cost
Right.
us $3,000 this year.
I don't want to say it was $50,000.
We waste more money than that
But it does.
down
have
at your town garage.
cost to us.
So can I bring up a point of discussion here? I don't believe the select board, if they came in tomorrow and said, we got this person, they want the thing for $1. We're just not gonna sell it. We're to go to you, the townspeople, and say, what do you think? Is this what you want us to do?
That's really appreciated.
I think that's what I'm
This is
hearing.
why this is here to
Right.
begin with.
Right.
I mean, although the select board does have the authority to sell that property without your approval.
We're not gonna do it.
We put it forward for a vote because we value your opinion.
Right.
That
I see that.
in March.
Right.
Come on down, Brian. You gotta come,
This is just a quick question.
but you gotta come down to the mic. We're being recorded. And you have to stop. Brian, you have to state your name as well. Two things, come up and state your name.
Name is Brian Wescombe. Quick question for everybody that's here. How many years ago was it that the INS wanted that building?
Yeah.
Yes.
25.
25. Yeah.
And it would have been free and clear after 10 years. You would have had an elevator in it, you'd have had everything updated,
Yeah.
and it got shot down.
Yeah.
So
That's
let's
one of
keep
the-
spinning our wheels on it and not doing anything. That building would have been yours, you said 25 years ago?
At least 25.
Thanks for bringing that one up.
The building would have been yours free and clear 15 years ago.
What's that? Just saying, if that no would have been done.
If
you'd
I
have had a
could,
nice
you wanna check?
Nobody wanted it.
No.
Any further questions? On the Brigham Academy article.
How about anybody on the Zoom?
Yeah, and-
Questions from Zoom? You do have to turn on your camera and state your name.
Seeing,
All right.
Article 2, I'll read it again, it's been a while. No, that's just old time.
Right? And you said you would check with people to see, you know, if somebody wanted the building, you would check with the town. to
Just like
see
the
if that
last
was-
time, just like the last time there was a contractor,
Or would that be a meeting?
just like the last time there was an interested contractor, there would be multiple informational meetings with input from the town. So that everything is approved, so that the town approves of the use, it's the town's building. We want the town.
We are looking out for your best interest, whether you believe it or not. If we weren't, we wouldn't be having this meeting. I'm sorry, I just.
Just a request, this is like a special request as someone who does not use social media. That since it's been going on the school board, that's been very helpful because when you guys have meetings, like, I don't know, and oftentimes they're scheduled when my kids have athletics and things. So just so you know, it's not because I'm not interested, it's because I either don't know about it or because it's not in my route, so.
Check the Jolly, check the library. Agendas are both close to this.
We just.
And I
Can we-
asked the special
can-
commission to get that on there this morning, because we don't own that. I'm not gonna do.
Yes, I know, but you're answering the select board question. So what we're trying to do, we have revamped the website. We have connected that to.
I noticed
multiple-
that, actually.
Yeah, we
Been helpful.
connected that to multiple different online.
Social media.
Medias.
Yeah, I don't.
We're trying to, like, you have any, no, I'm trying to try out. Do you
No
have any-
Facebook, no Instagram, no,
No,
I don't
no,
Snapchat,
Facebook.
none of it.
You have
I don't use any of it.
Do you have any other ways or suggestions that you could?
This friend right here, who like sends sometimes messages sometimes, so like.
So we should send it directly to her.
Yeah, sure.
Front porch forum, Tammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the media.
Oh, that's not really social media, it's but it's a form of media.
Article 2. Town of Bakersfield approve the select board to spend no more than $50,000 on law enforcement for no less than 6 months of service. Okay, now this is an article where we have this funds coming back from what was the FEMA. These funds are coming back to the general fund for work that has already been completed due to the storm.
October.
5.5 years ago.
5 years ago.
About 6 years ago, yeah.
FEMA's, federal government fund work good, 5 years later, we got funds. We have had multiple. It's not the only way we got people to come to select board meetings, is we've had multiple people complaining about known drug trafficking through town. Speeding, ATVs,
Petty crime.
petty
Petty
crime,
crime, major crime.
major crime in our town. So what we have done is we have met with, and I know this is, we have met with the one law enforcement agency that has returned any of our calls.
And who was that?
The sheriff.
That was the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. We are not saying. As in any situation, when you have only one applicant, that doesn't mean that that's your best option. And I will leave that at that, if you will. Correct. The amount that we are getting back is in the sum of 50,000, that's where that number came from. We're not saying that we're going to spend an entire $50,000. We didn't know at the time what the contracted price is, we have since found out a singular contracted price. That is an hourly rate, and with this allotted funds, we could really manipulate how much coverage we would have through that entity. If that was what we chose to go with. As a board, we're not sure that's our best option, we are still looking.
And there again,
So,
these monies are available to spend without town approval. It wouldn't affect the budget, but we want your opinion. Okay.
There has been multiple opinions saying that we need law enforcement. The problem is we have contacted the Vermont State Police.
Yeah.
They basically told us we're understaffed, there's no chance.
Contacted
We
a
have
couple.
contacted the sheriff's department, they have said, this is our hourly rate. We can adjust the contract as you need. We've been in contact with
Moyle.
Lemoyle, St. Albans PD.
Yep.
We were gonna call Swanton, but Swanton is actually.
You already said they
they've
can't
already
fill
said
it.
basically no to other entities in our area. Did I say Lemoyle? Yes.
You said Lemoyle.
Grand Isle, and we haven't received any, we've reached out, we're trying to get any and all that we can.
there is also a, I think there is a regional effort, there's some conversations happening with.
Local.
Kingsburg. Franklin.
Sheldon.
Discussing our own police force, but it's a year or two out.
Yeah, it's in the infancy stages.
But we are in open discussion. We follow that, right?
Brigham Academy, police barracks, there you go. Right?
Give her a gold star.
And
Let's run it because all cops will do nothing about it.
nothing is,
So are we
we've
wasting our
actually,
money? Yes.
yes, we've actually. Looked into hiring a full-time constable that would
Another
be
option.
employed by the town. Crazy expensive for startup. You know, the training that it takes to send somebody to Pittsburgh. Equipment, which includes a cruiser.
Insurance.
The biggest thing is the insurance costs that the town would incur. And
Liability.
the liability
Huge.
would be more than our town should really afford, even for a full-time sheriff or a full-time constable.
I mean, we have a pretty serious incident right over here. And they did not respond. She's not crying.
Don't get sit in the back and just holler from the cheap seats. Move on up.
So we had a pretty serious incident right over here. Cops were called numerous times. They did not come until the guy that had entered this person's home was being chased by townspeople.
Right.
And they came because they were in fear that he was going to get hurt.
Right.
So don't use any of my tax dollars to support any of that.
Terry, the idea, but
We know that there's a crack shack down here. It's been there for how long?
Right.
It is full every damn night. They go racing up the street 90 miles an hour. I've been passed on Main Street numerous times. They haven't come once to look and see what to do about that place.
if I,
Yes.
Terry, this is not.
Think the sheriff's gonna do something about it?
Terry, this is
No.
not calling for help and they come. This is just buying hours that they're in the town sitting.
To do what?
Write tickets, respond. It's.
Those people don't even have a license, they don't have a registration, they don't have a plate, they don't have an inspection.
How many?
Exactly, and
Here with no plates on the front or the back.
they sit, I've seen them sitting up here, I've seen City PD up here, I've seen Stadies up here, and they drive right by them. As a matter of fact, I had a state cop tell me down at the store, oh, that's the car that I just picked up. I said, what'd you do about no plate? Or the fact she has no license? What'd you do about that? Oh, she didn't have a license? Well, what the hell did you pull her over for? If you didn't get any of that information from them.
No, no.
I mean, it's constant, but I don't think wasting our tax dollars is the answer because they come here, they do nothing.
These are not, this is FEMA.
It's tax dollars.
That's lady, because actually money now, when we do it.
Money that already.
But eventually it will.
That's the money.
Terry was
Because-
for,
Right.
Money we put out.
for the fix.
So why are we not putting into infrastructure then?
It came out of the general fund to fix it came out of the funds
So
to
we-
fix the bridge.
From Paul to pay Peter Audra.
Oh, so
We borrowed from.
You already paid
Come on.
taxes. This is money coming back that's due to us.
Now they're finally giving us our money that was due to us. Cause
5
that's
years
how
ago.
long it takes for the state to get their act together.
put it back in the kitty for the next time we need it then, right?
Put it towards something besides a waste.
That's better use than giving it to cops that aren't gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Then vote no on Article 2.
They do on that.
I mean, this is a courtesy to the town. We want your opinions.
Yep.
And this ballot is a way of our getting your opinions. Okay?
Okay, I agree.
Go ahead, Ginger.
I need to take a breath.
Yep.
Ginger parent. Without legal coverage here, the situation you're creating is your fire department has become response to all hazards. As a fire chief, I've been spit on, I've been called multiple swear words, and it's because I don't have that police backup. Many of you know, August 24th of 2023, I was physically assaulted to the ground right here on Main Street. And not a single police officer responded. Nobody, they said, come write a report. Nobody contacted me about that report. I had video evidence. I had 2 eyewitnesses. Nobody was contacted. As your fire department, we've been to multiple calls where police cannot respond because they're so short-handed. That, we handle hit and runs, we handle assaults. We're entering scenes that we have been trained not to enter.
But spending 50 grand from our pockets is not gonna fix that,
No, it's not.
unfortunately.
But also I see that even if a cruiser came and sat on the,
And he didn't do anything. What's?
But-
finish?
Like, we're all
interrupted.
what my thinking is even if we sat an empty cruiser on Main Street, it's at least gonna be a visible clue. A town I used to live in used to put an empty cruiser on one of the streets that had the most speeding, and they saw a huge reduction, at least traffic violations, because they thought there was a police sitting there.
So I've seen Mr. Sullivan do that a couple times.
Mhm.
And his cruiser was actually sitting there the day that the gentleman from East Fairfield came up and decided to blow donuts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So what harm would it cause to at least try a 6-month experiment to see if something changes? What harm would come from doing a 6-month experience, from trying to get some sort of coverage at least a couple hours a day? That's my question. But it's people's lives. It's people's lives. Are you putting a price tag on my life?
I'm just saying, unfortunately.
Down, keep it calm and civil.
Where it doesn't, the coverage just isn't there.
We would try and randomize the service so that it covered
It would be
all
nice.
parts of the day, but we can't afford full-time coverage, so our services would be random days and random times. So that the perpetrators wouldn't be able to set a pattern by when the police are here.
And that solely doesn't have any jurisdiction.
No, not really.
It's not.
Right. Well, he
No.
don't, yes,
But it's for him to.
but he does. He's a sworn officer in the state of Vermont. He has arrested.
Sir,
Yep.
please,
Slow down.
go quietly to town, not blow donuts at the Four Corners.
When the sheriff was here, it sounded, and even that hall, I think, it sounded hopeful that there might be something.
So
I will tell you, be
Recognize
careful.
the young woman at the table.
Oh, young man.
Young man, I'm sorry.
No worries. My name's Xavier Kennedy. I've only lived here for 4 years now. My wife and I bought our house, so we're one of the young Vermont transplants. For what it's worth, we've always felt very welcome in this community. That's why we, decided to stay in Vermont. As far as I wanted to answer your question, because I understand exactly where you're coming from. It is very personal. It is about people's lives. To answer your question of what is the cost of doing a 6-month experience? And just to point out, some of the most vulnerable of us in the community, exactly as people are saying, the ones abiding by laws, the ones paying for taxes, are unfortunately the ones who have the most discomforts and unfortunately like life-altering events with police altercations. I can point back to, and this is a different town, it's not necessarily showing of Vermont at all, but my mom would buy me a new bike and I went out to use it and a bike got stolen at the nearby store and I was the first kid to get stopped. And I had to just wait there, scared out of my mind at 11, while they called around to see who stole the bike. Eventually the bike that was stolen wasn't near as expensive as mine, and that's how they got cleared. But just to answer your question of what is that real life cost of doing an experience like that, it could be the most vulnerable of us getting out of these situations, worrying about passing a police cruiser just to get to our homes.
thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Sharon, I think you're up.
I just worry in thinking about Ginger, Scott, and anybody else who I don't know on the fire department. What happens when they decide they no longer feel safe? And not only are we worrying about a monetary issue, but we are worrying about a health issue, a safety issue, because we don't have people that feel they can do their job safely. Now, I'm not saying that you folks would do that, but I certainly worry that you get to a place where if you don't feel safe doing what you're doing, can you continue to do it? So, no answers, just again, I worry about the safety of the people that we're sending out on these calls. Big time.
Times are different than they used to be.
Yeah.
Hello there. Alice Kennedy. As has been mentioned, we've lived here for about 4 years now. And I just had a few thoughts. First of all, I want to back up everything my husband said. The aspect of safety is absolutely at everybody's top of mind. And what police represent in that regard is different for everybody. But I would love to just look at some of the concrete issues that we want to address. You mentioned speeding. You mentioned the donuts. Dear God, the donuts. Me and Xavier, right up at the intersection up at King Road. And I swear, at 2 AM, 3 AM, every other week, there's somebody in a big truck doing donuts. Like, I'm frustrated with it too, for sure. But then it brings up the question of, is a police officer stationed in town for 2 hours gonna solve that? Would cameras that, track license plates do the same thing for way cheaper? Would community programs to get people off of drugs help as opposed to trying and hoping that the crack house shuts down? Just thoughts, nobody has to have answers, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to give everybody, probably call me up here. So the number that we received from one of the entities was $91 an hour per hour. Okay. For an 8-hour week, that's $728. 24 weeks in a 6-month period, which I should say mine because I didn't necessarily voice this. My initial thought was this would be a trial period so that we can figure out whether or not this was gonna work and bring forward a number for the March vote. Okay, so we would determine if it works. If it works, we go to March, we extend that contract. If it doesn't work, we're out the money from now until March. Okay, so at 8 hours a week, that comes to $17,472. That's for 6 months. Up to 20 hours a week, 1820 a week comes to $43,680 for a 6 month thing. So the $50,000, Terry, that's the amount. We didn't know what the contract number was. We knew we had $50,000 coming from FEMA. That was the number we chose to put forward. Okay. Once.
Are they still saying, Josh, that they would charge us starting from the
Half.
if they're in
Half.
Fairfax?
We got them to split the difference.
Split the difference, so we pay one way. So if they live, say the sheriff lives in Berkshire, for instance, because I know one of those sheriffs that lives in Berkshire. We would pay for him to get here. And when he signed off in town, we don't pay for him to drive home or to his
Next location.
Okay, so we would be half the travel. That was one of the things that we
Hammered.
we were very adamant about. So we didn't want to pay any of the travel because when you were on board, we did have the issue where they were like, oh, we're charging you from the time we leave our house in Georgia. We're coming up here, we're gonna patrol for an hour and then we're charging you back to Georgia.
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
we're not paying for your travel through other towns, that just doesn't work. So that was one of the first things that we were focused on negotiating. The next, we were hoping to negotiate the price. Quite honestly, he came in, he was like, this is what it is. He was like, there's no negotiation on the price. He was like, in order to be competitive with any of the other police forces in the area, this is what I have to offer, and this is what I have to charge in order to cover all my fees. So he was very straightforward with that. That was black and white. This is the line.
And we get a percentage if it's on a town road?
Yes,
If it's ticketed
that's-
on a town road?
That
correct?
was another question that we asked. We were like, when you come here and you're working in Bakersfield, we give you our Bakersfield ticket book. And those fees minus a percentage come back to Bakersfield. So depending on how hard we want to hit the people coming through town, some of them I'd like to really hammer, some of them I'd like to be a little more lenient on, like that guy that's maybe lives in the middle of town, drives a little faster than he should, that guy. But we could theoretically recoup a percentage of the contract. And that's what we're hoping to do. I would really like to say that if this happened, we could cut down on some of the APP issues, we could cut down on some of the trucks doing the burnouts on Main Street. But let's face it, we've all been younger at a time, and I usually know when I come through to get gas and I see a cop, I tend to leave a little slower than I might have come in because I know they're there. Are we getting the revenue from that? No. Are we getting the desired outcome? Yes.
Maybe.
So, Just wanted to throw those numbers out there. I apologize.
No, not at all. Kimberly Sheets, very new to town. We just moved in February.
Oh, welcome.
Thanks. Question is for actually all of you and the chief. My husband and I actually used to be volunteer fire department. Not 100% sure on laws with fire department here. We come from Texas, so they have fire marshals where they are dualed, so they can carry firearms. Is that prohibited here?
I'm a
So you
retired fire
can't,
marshal. We were not allowed to carry weapons.
you cannot,
No,
not here. Okay, so that pretty much answers
unfortunately.
that question for safety for
Mhm.
when you're going into those situations where. You'd be surprised what kind of issues we have there. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. But that was my question, like if you would,
So even acting town constables, so the select board fills the role of town constable.
Mhm.
If they're not elected. We do not have, we as in like even an elected town constable, unless they go to.
Yes, with a level 2 training.
The academy. They're basically a glorified dog fisher.
Right.
And I mean glorified because they even have to get training to.
Ready to take it.
Ready to take it per dog.
right, so, but if you go through the training, if you go through the police academy, you cannot.
Fire marshals are state employees within the state of Vermont.
Okay, so.
We're in the same division as the state police, but we're not armed.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you.
Two quick questions. Do we have any information on any patterns for when most problems are happening in town that would help guide hours for potential police service?
Is recorded, is that we can set the hours to what we want. You know, we said our biggest issues are 8 o'clock in the morning when all of our kids are crossing the road. Cars are screaming through town. We want patrol at 8 o'clock. And what we were told was you will get that. You may not see it. It may be Monday, Wednesday, Friday one week, Thursday, Tuesday the next week. They're not gonna work on a pattern so that people can't pattern the sheriffs.
Yeah.
They also said that, because we asked if we could get a report as to when they were at school and what they were handling. And they couldn't give specific locations because that could lead to patterning. There was some, I don't want to say questionable answers to some of those questions, but some of them left us as a board. In the end. So.
Were you asking, have we done any studies to see when the problems are in town?
Yeah.
We, not for.
Okay,
Let's say,
Not
I'm
formal.
sitting in my.
no, I know.
It's 6 o'clock, I hear
Yeah.
trucks every night revving up and.
Yeah.
Tearing up town and it's,
Soon as that storyline goes out,
yeah,
Main Street turns into a racetrack.
yeah.
If this was to be approved, is there a way for whoever the police force is to share information that during this 6 months, they did blank, 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 and blank?
State police currently do that.
Okay.
They provide that usually in a newspaper.
And then one last comment. I'm just thinking about recent events in Enosburg and our school being impacted as well, and school going down in lockdown and everything. And the fear that our kids faced, and the fear that our kids go to every day of school with. As a teacher in Enosburg, when we hear sirens going through Main Street, kids are on high alert. And if we don't believe that kids go to school scared, you need to wake up and know that our kids go to school scared pretty regularly. So I would feel comfortable knowing that there was an additional presence here, and God forbid anything happen. I have also only had positive experience, and Deputy Sheriff Lynch, am I getting that right? He went out of his way when our oldest daughter had a seizure on the playground at school. He did not need to come to Bakersfield and make sure everything was okay there, and he did. I just really appreciate that extra person being there, because it was scary for everybody. So I think if we can get answers, that you might find more support.
Yes, if they're in count and something was to happen,
Mhm.
we would, as a board, I think that would be one of the things that we would say.
We were assured that the officer on duty would be obligated to respond.
Yeah. What I would also think, or not think, but recommend, is that if multiple people in the community are feeling this way, then ask the school board why only Richford and Pittsburgh have resource officers, not all of our schools.
Yeah.
That's
He doesn't have the manpower.
a huge question. So it is.
Yeah.
But they would be, well.
He doesn't, he's lost 3 more.
Yeah, I think so.
Got voted down.
It is.
Yeah.
I will be upfront and honest. I have reservations about using a certain department because of their past history in a local community next door. Also because of some ongoing civil things that are going on in the court system. I have a hard time supporting someone that doesn't wear the badge and be prideful and dignified while he's doing it. So that's my opinion on it.
Are there any other questions on?
So if we did have.
Down. Sorry. You should sit closer.
Keep walking.
I'll give you a really cherry.
Exactly. So if we were to hire them, and you're only hiring them for 8 hours, say a week, and something happens outside that 8 hours, it's still not going to help our fire department, because it's still going, it would be the state.
Correct.
Well, he did say if he had an officer on duty that could respond. Okay, so let's say it's Monday,
Mhm.
they're in their first 8 hours of their first
Hour.
hour of their 8-hour shift, they came in, they were here.
Then they would go
And
with.
if there was an incident that required a police presence, and it was heard over dispatch, which he did admit, sometimes stuff is not heard or is missed on dispatch. They could come from a neighboring county, which would stop their hours. They would come to Bakersfield and
Start
if we
our
was here
hours.
for 2 hours. That would be 2 hours that we lose somewhere else in the week.
Out of our bucket.
Okay.
So
That's if there's an officer in the area.
right. He's like, I'm not gonna pull somebody from.
So say Ginger's out on a call, is she required to, can she call him? Or would she have to call?
Yeah.
I asked that question the day that he was here, so VSP is supposed to grants. And if for some reason they can't, we have the right to ask for a sheriff, but it's all depends on who's around and who's available. Police.
So only if we have a contract,
No.
even if we didn't have a contract.
Anytime.
I've had border patrol agents assist on scenes before because they were the closest law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
Last incident that. I was in Transburg when that happened. And when the whole thing came to an end, there wasn't a vehicle. There wasn't a, officer group that wasn't represented at that scene.
Yeah, I did see that.
And I think what the contract would give us an advantage of is that we have at least some hours covered as opposed to no.
So we did have a city cop up here 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. That was. Well, he had a car pulled over. I don't know what the deal was, but I wondered if he was just kind of traveling through and decided to.
They have a
Oh.
jurisdiction.
Oh. Okay.
What I've heard is that. This is hearsay. That the state police are so understaffed that if other entities are willing to pick up hours, they're willing to sub them.
Oh, well, maybe that's what it was then.
And again, that's hearsay.
Right.
Just that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a state policy right now. Any sworn officer in the state of Vermont will respond to calls if a state trooper is not there. You may get a liquor inspector, you could get a game warden, you could get an environmental protection officer that's a sworn officer would respond to the call to assist. So they're trying to do their due diligence. When you have an.
Yeah, no one's going into that field.
To get 4 students in, when you used to have 65 openings and you had 425 people applying, no one wants to be a cop today because of all the stuff that's going on.
Their job and the laws are so bad that the judge didn't let it go anyway.
That, the other thing is, if you really have these concerns, I was just gonna say, when your legislator sits here at a meeting and tells us that they're telling the same thing to the legislature, but they're doing nothing to help those folks. So everyone knows that it's the court system that's failing us. It's not the law enforcement officer.
Right. I agree. Okay, that's all I want to know.
And I'm Kristen Tuttle. This is gonna come off very unpopular, but I don't mean it the way it's gonna sound. I've been a nurse in this community for a long time and I worked home health in this community. So I went to lots of people's houses, often people who did not necessarily want us there, and had all the same kinds of things happen to me. And I'm wondering, as I'm sitting here listening, if the fire department needs security, home health had a contract with one of the police departments. And if we felt like it was an unsafe place to go, we could call them and have an officer meet us or go. But I mean, if there was a specific contract for security for the fire department, if that's what the need is, that might be a different conversation than patrolling. Like, it might be 2 separate things that we need to talk about as a, because it's definitely, it's not that it's an unvalid thing, it's just that this might not be the right solution for it. There might be a more specific. Yeah.
Add another contract.
Well, I think what she's saying though is if it would be outside of, because like right now, if there's only a cop here a couple days a week. It doesn't.
It doesn't change any of that. Yeah.
If there was a contract with just the fire department and.
That'd be a better use now.
Yeah.
They would have to respond to that.
But you have to remember that the fire department does not make any revenue. We do not charge for our services for fire or first response. We,
Get a contract.
with the town, right? So again, it would be town money.
Right, it would be,
Right.
separate voted on like conversation thing.
Right, I think what she's saying,
Well,
is one that's specific.
and let's be
That
clear.
For fire,
Yes.
for EMS.
Just for clarity, I've been in this 53 years as a firefighter, 30, coming on 50 years as an EMT. I have never entered a scene where there was a safety concern for me, and until it was safe for me to enter that scene. That's just the training I've had. That's the training I go by. And to this day, with the Enosburg ambulance, we don't leave the scene until we know it's safe. Unfortunately, she got caught in a situation where it wasn't safe. So it's a learning experience for all of us. And if I have to wait, unfortunately, I have to wait. I'm not going to give my life for something that may not even be going on in there. I don't know. So sometimes we wait an hour to get a trooper there. We just have to wait.
Yeah,
as we were talking about the reason for police presence, one of the things mentioned was the ongoing drug issues. And I think I became more aware this summer of not only one particular place, but there's a number of them, not just in Bakersfield, but surrounding communities. And I think in addition to doing the firearms training, which I'm not sure where I'm at with things because there's a lot of liability with that I need to think about. I think the other piece I took away from all of this was my school training with Alice and the acronym. The first thing is the A, alert. And I have become much more vigilant about noticing my surroundings. Lance has always been good about noticing cars. I mean, Terry, no license plates. I couldn't tell you if there's no license plate because I don't look for them, but that's going to be one I'm going to notice. And I think it doesn't hurt any of us to be that way. I also feel like maybe we've become an area where there's so little police presence that we can foster some of this drug stuff because it's pretty safe to operate, and maybe a minimal presence would at least kick them somewhere else. I don't know. It's
common knowledge Vermont's the best state to do your drugs in.
Yeah.
Because we do not have the criminal aspect of it in courts that other states have.
Yeah, I was thinking more locally Bakersfield. Yeah.
Boy, I can tell you the drug trade that comes from here to Richford and I could show you the route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm frightened of the whole pattern, that's how disturbed I get with this whole thing. Because we are a nice little town and it's too bad we're getting overrun by them. But we as townspeople, we can.
Are you back there talking again?
No, stop it.
Get up.
Little old neighborhood watch.
So, just going back on the idea of the drug issues within Bakersfield, you brought up, I'm sorry, Alice Kennedy. You brought up an excellent point of, we have this issue across the state. It's not an issue just here, it's an issue everywhere. And, this is a conversation that has been brought up many times across the country of like, are the police trained to deal with this specific kind of thing? Will one officer actually ever launch an investigation on a crack den or feel safe enough to actually try and like raid the place themselves? No, that's not going to happen. We're not paying them enough to launch a proper investigation. That's just the reality of the situation. So, we could have a police officer and hope that they do these things, but when we call them, it's the same as calling you. They're not trained for it. That's not something that they know how to do or can respond to. All they can really do is bring a gun into the situation. And then when they get scared, somebody gets shot. So like, is that actually a solver for this situation? Personally, I don't think so.
Thank you.
So I would like to know from the group, would it be beneficial for the group if we had like I'll call it a town hall meeting? And we invited Lieutenant Philippek, who is the station commander for St. Albans up. He was very cordial. I know him personally. He's a very nice person. He really wants to do the best he can do for this community. He would love to hear from you guys and explain some of the hardships he's having. I can tell you they have 4 troopers that cover the entire Grand Isle, Franklin County area in daytimes, and at night they have 2. So that's your 6 troopers that cover this area. So that just explains, it's not an excuse. It just explains why we don't always get the help. And Scott knows we've had people come out of Williston, to cover up here because they just wasn't able to.
Wardens are an option, so.
So it's just, if that would help, that's something we could.
Wardens are stationed right to our
Yeah.
district, so, and they can do anything.
Yeah, we've called workers before because they're actually probably the best response for ATV issues.
Yes.
Since they are all equipped with ATVs. I know there's 3 of them now, but I know 2 of them personally, they're great guys.
I have
Again,
every
there's
year.
only 2 of them, that's a good thought.
I just felt, maybe this is an appropriate time to ask this question, but Vermont State Police, so why is it other areas have complete coverage? I work ambulance in a different district and there's a police officer on every call, whether we call them or not. They just show up to help.
Is it sheriff's departments?
Yes,
Because they're.
sheriff and VSP.
Because they're
It's a
contract.
combination of both. So where, like, if there's only 6 in this county, is it because that's just where they're stationed and assigned to?
Yes, yep.
So why wouldn't Vermont State Police say, hey, this county's needed, we're gonna put some
They
officers
don't
up
have
there?
any more than that than Willis down in Chittenden County. It's a short.
Is it a per capita thing? Is it?
Don't quote me on this, but it's something like 200 troopers that cover the entire state that aren't staffed. And if you take that and divide that by 14 counties,
Mhm.
you don't get a lot of
Do you
people.
have any idea what the number would be if VSP was fully staffed?
At last I knew, you were like 40 troopers short. And to answer the question, the sheriff explained it to us here in our meeting, was the sheriff's department is only funded to do court officer and transport officer. That's what he gets for state funding. Any other coverage he does is through a contract with that municipality, whoever it happens to be, the school. That's why the resource officers are still there, is because he has contracts with the supervisory union to put those in. So it's not like other states where you have county funds that pay for it. And I think it came out from the legend, Mr. Gregoire told us that there's actually a bill being introduced this year by Senators Morris and Oliver that are asking for funds to be given to the sheriff's departments in each county to fund actual patrols, whether it goes through a restructuring. Right, right. So that we'd have more of that coverage.
Dogs there at the sheriff's department, they would know, right?
But it's gonna be, it'd be a county tax that would cover that.
Come on down.
So I really like this gentleman's idea of a camera. I would love to see cameras, one by that church to get that parking lot.
There's no legal ramifications. All you're gonna do is catch the activity. They won't do anything about it.
But maybe if they know there's
Yeah.
cameras, maybe that would be just enough to keep them out.
That's the same thing we're thinking here.
Yeah.
Is, you know, maybe the officer doesn't go into the crack shack guns blazing. But if the people that are running to and from the crack shack know.
That we are not quiet little Bakersfield with nobody looking.
You have control, maybe they start looking somewhere else.
They can use that tape. They
Yeah,
just
they
can't
use it
put
as
that
evidence.
camera there because they need a warrant. A person can put a camera up, and if there's footage, they are able to use it.
I think there was a semi-discussion about
Yeah.
the church parking lot
Right.
for not so much camera, but for different things. And the folks at the church had said that they're content, they're happy, they're not
It just
upset
has to
about
be
those folks
posted.
over there.
The church is not upset about it?
That's,
They were talking about the homeless. They were.
leave it in the car and all. Well, you're right. So it depends.
The historical building we could attach.
You
I
can.
mean, there's
sign up
other
you're being
options.
Surveilled as well and not to put a camera. on. Okay, you have to put a sign out that says this parking lot, this building is being monitored by closed circuit TV. I think.
I wrote down, I think you said that.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Where I come from, they have cameras that take photographs of speeding cars.
Yeah. New York,
Right.
New York.
No.
Not in Texas anymore.
It's a legal issue because people.
No, I know.
Vermont, we had that on our cruises in Vermont, got challenged and had to take them all.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I like the camera idea.
Particularly. They don't even have towers that have blue lights on top, now that you're aware of it, and that's what those are, they're actually police owned.
Well, so I know somebody that just got a ticket over in New York. After hours, construction zone, but nobody's working. And he got a ticket in the mail for
Mhm.
like $55.
They get down PA for years. Yeah, they catch you
Yeah.
running red lights. They catch you doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
and They send you tickets.
That's a great idea, and I think we should reach out to the church and the historical society to see if that's something they're interested in. They're not counting buildings,
Yeah, and the
so I mean,
neighborhood
it's,
churches work well too. They've been
Yeah.
doing it in St. Albans, and I tell you what,
well,
they're not letting any rock get
if
unturned.
you're on, if you're on the Bakersfield pages on Facebook, it doesn't take long for, when somebody on one end of town gets somebody in their car.
I knew about the
people on
tree
other end
down.
of town are saying, "Hey, what do you-" So, I think that's our biggest thing right now, is just, you know, we need to, even though we have differencing opinions, we need to stick together as a town and look out for each other. That's, right now, that's our biggest thing.
I think cameras, if cameras are legal in Vermont, I think that's probably a better way to spend 50,000 for tickets
Well,
than, who would monitor
the
it?
problem is the cameras, you can't. I don't believe we can put cameras up as a town. Private entities can put up cameras on your property.
That's a negative, that you can put them as a town on.
Yeah.
But conveniently, they can be pointed at a different direction,
Right,
because you're
so,
so secure.
we do, and just complete, there is a camera on this entrance and there is a camera on the front entrance. And those record when people come up to the building. But that and the town garage, because it was broke into, are pretty much the only town properties.
Who owns the park?
The park is,
Cemetery.
No, this town.
No, never mind. That's another committee, because nobody wants to make decisions. I give you kudos for putting these two things on the ballot, just to stir up conversation and debate. Number two, I hope you find a contract with somebody, because I want a law enforcement presence, no matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. I don't care. I appreciate it as a new resident of this town, because I am a stand your ground state man, and I will do it on my property, and I don't want it to come to that. But I do give you kudos, and I do appreciate this.
thank you. Are there any other questions regarding the second article? Okay, I believe that concludes our informational meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we adjourn the informational meeting. Aye.
He's a-